साकेतनगरे निवसन्तं साम्राज्यप्रद हनुमन्तं राकेन्दुवदनं भगवन्तं रमणीय कल्याण गुणवन्तं 𝗏𝗏 धीमन्तं कमलाक्षं श्रीमन्तं 𝗏𝗏 धीमन्तं कमलाक्षं श्रीमन्तं नागेशनुतमनन्तं नरगुरुगुहविहरन्तं रामचन्द्रं भावयामि भूमिजा नायकं भुक्तिमुक्तिदायकं नामकीर्तनतारकं नरवरगतमायिकं रामचन्द्रं भावयामि. With the abundant blessings of Paramatma Shri 𝗤𝗡𝗍, taking a small break from our Paduka Sahasram series, this lecture will be in English. This particular lecture will be in English. And this shall focus on a question that has been in the minds of quite a few scholars, readers, practitioners, and researchers in Sanatana Dharma. What is this topic that we have taken up for discussion today? Of the various events, various charitrams that we have venerated in Sanatana Dharma, be it from any theology. Let us take, for example, in Vaishnavism, we come across important Avataras charitrams like 𝗪𝗪𝗪, 𝗑ूर्मावतारम, Varaha Avataram, Nrisimha Avataram, Vamana Avataram, and if you take up some Aveshya Avatarams like Naranarayana Avataram, then Kapila Avataram, Kapila Vasudeva Avataram, and then we come across the charitrams of great devotees like Dhruva Charitram, Rishabhanatha Charitram. These are all areas that are concerned in the Vaishnavism department. Now, if you go to the Shaivism sector or Shaivism part of our theology, we come across Gajasura-vadham, Tripurantaka, where Shiva ends up destroying the Tripuras and the Asuras. Him being a Bhikshatana, Dakshayajnam, thereby becoming a Bhikshatana. Then Jalandharavadam, Lingodbhava. These are all charitrams that are important in the Shaivism part. If you take up Shaktism, where Shakti is venerated, we have the major event called Mahishasuravadham. Then we also have events concerning Skanda, Kartikeya, which is Tarakasuravadham, and his marriage to Devasena in the Puranic terms and in the legend terms to Valli. So these are all events. And then besides this, there are important charitrams like Dushyanth Shakuntala charitram, thereby giving rise to Bharata, Savitri Satyavan charitram, Yayati charitram, then getting married to Devayani and Sharmishtha. So there are so many events. Keep this on one side, put them in one vessel. Whatever I've told you till now, put them into one vessel. Take vessel number 2. Two things that you may have to do is keep your Wi-Fi switched off for some time or put it on your airplane mode. You can listen to this lecture peacefully, if at all that is the motive. Next is the second vessel, which is Rama Avatar, because whatever said and done, the first book that came to us in the form of Kavyam or Pramanam is Ramayana. There is no book which came earlier than that. Of course, we have Vedas, but we don't call them books. It is Shabda Shastra, Apaurusheyam, Anadi, and so on. But if you want to talk about a composer, a work, the biography of a particular person, then it is Ramayanam that came first. Vessel number 3 is Mahabharata. Again, it talks about Vyasa's depiction of the lives of the Pancha Pandavas with Draupadi, and of course with a major role played by Krishna, Bhagavan Shri Krishna Vasudeva. So this is vessel number 3. So I have given you 3 vessels. All the list of charitrams that I put from the departments of Vaishnavism, Shaivism, Shaktism, Skanda worship into vessel number 1. Vessel number 2 was Ramayanam. Vessel number 3 is Mahabharata. Remember that all these incidents that I have mentioned are in this order. Between Ramayanam and Mahabharatam, remember, between Ramayanam and Mahabharatam, no notable incident happened. All that I have told you in vessel 1 is before Rama. Whatever I have told you, everything is before Rama. What happened after Rama, we don't know. What happened before Krishna, we don't know. See, there are a few patrams, katha patrams, who occur in the Mahabharata who may have found mention in the Ramayana as well. Example is Jambavan. He comes in the Mahabharata as the father of Jambavati, and he also comes in the construction of the Setu because he was alongside the Vanaras. We come across Parashurama. In Rama Avataram, we see Parashurama. When we deal with Karna, we have to see Parashurama again. Hanuman, who comes in the Ramayanam, is also found in Mahabharatam because he is the one who blesses Bhima in the 𝗤𝗢𝗡𝗥𝗙𝗪 when he has to go retrieve those flowers. So all this is found in both the kavyas, but we do not know if it is the same Jambavan. Though we all consider it as the same Jambavan, we do not know. So there is a doubt. Otherwise, there is no notable incident. I can never say that this avataram took place between Rama avataram and Krishna avataram. Balarama happened, but Balarama was a contemporary of Krishna. Parashurama was a contemporary of Rama. But what avataram, what incident do we have between Rama avataram and Krishna avataram? We don't know. But what is the topic of discussion today? The topic of discussion is, when this is one, see, first shock or probably something that should surprise us is, with the list of incidents and charitrams that we all speak about in our 18 Puranas and 2 Itihasas, there is no one notable incident between Rama avataram and Krishna avataram. That should give us the first shock. At least 2-3 incidents should have happened. 2-3, nothing. Second, when we deal with Rama avataram, everything will seem normal, human-like. In Rama avataram, everything is human-like. Parents wanted children. They propitiated to Bhagavan. As a result of Putra Kameshti, they had children. The children grew up. They married. One couple went to the forest, served by the other brother. In the meanwhile, she was abducted. Rama cried for her a lot, took all the efforts to rescue her. There is nothing which is so shocking to us. This could not have happened. Yes, there are a few incidents that your children and grandchildren could question. But if you look at the skeleton of Rama Avataram as a story, there is nothing which is so shocking. The husband crying over the loss of his wife, the wife thinking of the husband, third person called Hanuman coming and playing a major role as a mediator, messenger, person who assists. All this is possible in our own lives. It is not always our relatives who help. There will be some friends who will come and help us. So everything in Ramayana is very relatable, comprehensible. So what is this discussion about? When everything is so comprehensible, the lifespan of Rama is a very questionable one. Because we say 11,000 years. I don't know how many of you have heard of this question, how many of you have even found a reference to this question, and how many of you think this is a question that needs to be answered. I'll lay the context for you first. The context is, in the Ramayana, when everything seems so normal, so natural, so organic, that's the very costly word these days. So, there are 7 times where Valmiki mentions of one number. Dashavarsha Sahasrani, Dashavarsha Shatani cha. Sahasram in Sanskrit means 1,000. Shata means 100. We say Daya Shatakam. Shata means 100. Vishnu Sahasra Namam. Sahasra means 1,000. Paduka Sahasram, 1000. So Sahasram is 1000, Shata is 100. So when Valmiki mentions of Rama, he says Dasha Varsha Sahasrani, 10 years into 1000, which is 10,000 years. Dasha Varsha Sahasrani. And he adds another number. Dasha Varsha Shatani cha. 10 into 100, 1000 years. So put together 11,000 years. See, if he has to mention not once but 7 times, there must be some purpose to this number. And every time he mentions, he doesn't even add them up. He doesn't say Ekadasha Varsha Sahasrani. See, whenever somebody asks you for a number, you will say this costs me 8,000 rupees. You will not say 5 into 1000 plus 3 into 1000. Why will you give all this sum addition to the opposite person, unless and until you want to really trouble him? So he doesn't even say Ekadasha Varsha Sahasrani. Every time he mentions, he gives the account separately. Dasha Varsha Sahasrani, Dasha Varsha Shatani cha. And he makes a mention of this number twice, in the sense 6-7 times, but into context. 1. Ramo Rajyam Upasitva. When it concerns with Rama Rajyam, when Rama's regime happened, when Rama administered, he says 11,000 years. Or in another verse, 6 times he makes a mention saying Ramo Rajyam Upasitva. Rama ruled. Regime. The other context is Dashavarsha Sahasrani Vaji Medhan Atakarot. Vaji is Ashwa. Vaji Medham is Ashwamedham. So Rama performed Ashwamedham for 10,000 years is the 7th mention he makes. Now, how do we understand this context? See, we are living in, I wouldn't say troubled times, shocking times and all of that. I am not a person who spreads negativity around. But I'll say it is challenging because we are seeing a huge generational shift right in front of our eyes. Those of you who have received thrashings from your school teachers, from your own parents and grandparents, can't even afford to use the word thrash in your house now. Forget about thrashing as a process. You can't even afford to think of using the word thrash. You'll be behind the bars and that will be unbailable. This is the state that we are in. I am no supporter of corporate punishment or punishment by thrashing. Don't think otherwise. But what I'm trying to say is, in the last 70 years that you were all born, grown, 70 plus years, you have seen that shift. You yourself would have been in a position where you couldn't ask a simple, normal question to your parents. And to the list of volley of questions that your children and grandchildren throw, you will be left spellbound, positively or negatively. That is left to your own karma. But you will have all these questions. Now, you can always say, one day they will get knowledge. See, the point is, if the question is about simple things, why should I have dosa? Why should I not have pasta? Why can't it be lasagna? And why should it always be korambu? These are all things that can be dealt with. But if it concerns with the religion and the scriptures, trust me, it is a very thin line of not knowing and not answering, and answering it wrongly. The moment you give an answer which is not convincing, which is illogical, there is high chance that you're pushing them towards being agnostic or atheist. And then there is no way that you can bring them by doing 108 pradakshinaams around the temple. So how do we deal with such questions? I know there will be a lot of traditional speakers in my own field who may never want to address these questions. I'm not blaming them. They feel, why? All these centuries we have believed this way. Let us continue believing it. What is the harm? Why should Dushyanth do this? Just say 11,000 years. Adu nambina nambatam. Let 𝗥𝗘𝗙𝗧𝗪𝗓. This is the line that they will give. But to me, imagine if I live by my Purva Janma Karma for another 20-30 years. I don't know when the Atma will go out of the body. That my Karma will decide. Till then I have to keep speaking. Every year there will be thousands of new 18 plus children coming to my lecture. It is not the same people. I will grow older, you will grow older, and I will see a new generation coming for my lectures. The more the new generation comes, the volley of questions will be high, and that too, if you are very reachable to them, they won't mind asking you those questions. The moment you decide that I have to stay away from them, because if you stay close, they'll ask questions. So you always stay away from them. 11,000 years is what our acharyas say. Believe or not believe, that is not my problem. If you say this, then you will have to keep complaining, nobody comes for my lectures. Then you have to lament, who attends lectures? For me, I don't have that problem. People attend. And they also come up with questions. Now it is in my hands to find answers. That is where there are two ways. Either I have to completely cling to science and use scientific methods, or I have to cling to Shastras. For me, the second route is much easier, where I cling to Shastras and find answers. So for this 11,000 years, I have laid the context. What is the solution? First, we have to give all the inputs. See, I'm sure all of you will be extremely well qualified. You would have done, you will still be doing very well in your corporate career. And I'm sure you would have worked really hard in your academic area as well. It is very important that we always understand what is the given to prove and then proof. Proof will come at the last. First, we have to understand the Purva Paksham, the prima facie. What is it? Prima facie, I will lay. You will have to be extremely vigilant, be attentive. Why I'm telling you is, if you want to be a part of learning for this process so that you can really help your children and grandchildren, you have to do. But if you feel that you have produced children who will never question, may God bless you. So, now, of the avatars that we know of Bhagavan Paramatma, who doesn't have to take avatara, see, to kill one Ravana, he doesn't have to walk all the 2,500 kilometers in the forest. When he is able to control the stars and the suns with his Sankalpa Shakti, who is that Ravana? A man of 8 feet. 𝗟𝗡𝗙𝗪𝗏 𝗔𝗠𝗇 𝗠𝗢𝗏 वासुदेवस्य वीर्येण विधृतानि महात्मनः. Sahasranamam wonders. Stars and all the luminary bodies are stationed in those places. Do we ever say, I think moon is coming very close to earth. In about a week's time, it will arrive on earth. No, it stays wherever it is supposed to stay. 𝗟𝗡𝗙𝗪𝗏 𝗔𝗠𝗇 𝗠𝗢𝗏 वासुदेवस्य वीर्येण. He controls all of them with his Sankalpa Shakti. And for him to kill Ravana, how long will it take? But he wanted to be amidst us, to prove to us that I shall live like one amongst you, one amidst you, and still follow Dharma. When he is not born amidst us, then we will say, is he born? Just because we are born, we are asked to follow Dharma. Does he follow? He says, no, I shall be amidst you and follow Dharma. Dharmo vigrahavan. See, many children who work really hard during their grades of 9, 10, 11, 12, extremely hard working, they may tell their parents, see, you are way past your age, you don't have to work. See, it is me who is working. So, many mothers that I've seen, many fathers that I've seen, they will take up one independent course. And they will also sit with their children and say, see, at my age, even I am sitting with you. So, the parent, the mother and father may want to sit with their children to prove that they are also undergoing the same pain as what they are undergoing. So, Bhagavan wanted to be amidst us. So, he takes the incarnation, the avatara of Rama, Krishna. Why I am telling only 2 avatars? Why you are not including Narasimha? Aren't you a devotee of Narasimha? Immediately, people will write in the comments. See, the thing is, the other avatars that we know are beyond the realm of human understanding. I can never give a scientific explanation to the head of a lion and the body of a human. That is Bhagavan's 𝗥𝗘𝗙𝗪 samarthya. If he chooses to be the way he wants to destroy the evil forces, the demoniac forces, he will come in any form. And he was not born traditionally the way we are born. He came out of a pillar. In 1.5 hours time, he wanted to protect his little boy. He protected went. There is this principle in most objective question type of exams called KISS. Keep it sweet and simple. So Narasimha Avataram was sweet and simple, short. 1.5 hours time he left. Varaha Avataram. But Rama Avataram and Krishna Avataram, he chose to be humans like us. He was born from the Jataram of Kaushalya. He was from the Jataram of Devaki. He too had family-based problems. In Krishna Avataram, his own maternal uncle was his enemy. In Krishna Avataram, he did not even know that his true parents were Devaki and Vasudeva till he turned 10. So Krishna Avataram had its own set of problems. Rama Avataram had its own set of problems. So Bhagavan tried to live amidst us, like us, as humans. So only these two avatarams are our consideration. That is why our itihasas concentrate only on these two avatarams. Rama for Ramayana, Krishna and Pandavas for Mahabharata. Simple. So in these two avatarams, in Rama Avataram, Bhagavan tells in over 6 places, 6. I'm just giving you one. When I say over 6, it doesn't mean only 6. Over 6 means 6 plus. When Valmiki puts forth his question to Narada Maharishi and Narada replies to Valmiki, when Brahma, Indra et al. Go and offer their Sharanagati to Narayana and 𝗟𝗓𝗏, and in return when Bhagavan answers, and in Yuddha Kandam after the death of Ravana, when Rama speaks to Brahma and Brahma speaks to Rama. These are the 6 instances. Valmiki to Narada, Narada to Valmiki. Brahma, Indra and other devas to Narayana and 𝗟𝗓𝗏, and Narayana and 𝗟𝗓𝗏 to Brahma et al. Rama to Brahma, Brahma to Rama. These are the 6 instances. 6 shlokas clearly state that he is a human. He says, Jnatumevam vidham naram. Nara means human. 𝗪𝗡𝗙𝗪 naraha. Nara. Manusho bhutva. After becoming a human. Manushe chintaya masa. Again Manusha. Atmanam manusham manye. I am a normal human being. Manushi tanum. In the body of a human. Manushi tanum. Manusham manye. Manusha rupa. Manusha loke. Narayyukta. Nara manusha. Nara manusha. Why did he choose that Naravataram? This is where you will have to note it down very clearly. That when Brahma sought boons from Brahma, Ravana sought boons from Brahma. He said, I should not die. Normal. That is when Brahma says, ask a different boon, that and all cannot be granted. That is when he says, I should not be killed by Yakshas, Gandharvas, Kimpurushas, Rakshasas, Asuras. But he drops the word human from it. Why? He says, Trinabhutahi te manye pranino manushadayaha. Trinabhuta. To me, a human is akin to a blade of grass. Pullai vottavan. Trinabhutva. Trina means grass. That is why we say Trinamul. Trinamul means grass root. Trina means grass. So I treat them as a blade of grass. I don't need to include them in the list of people who cannot kill me. So he spares the humans. He thought too low of the humans. What will these people do? So Bhagavan had to suffice the boon granted by Brahma to Ravana by being born as a human. So the 6 instances where he confirms he is a Manushya Nara is in accordance with Brahma's boon to Ravana. Now that we have understood that of the Avataras, Rama Avataram, Rama is clearly a Manushya, a Nara. The next question, how long can a human live? Now we have concluded that he is a human. How long can a human live? I will tell you. First, Rigvedam. Any Rigvedis here? At least in your Abhivadayi, you may be using it. I won't ask anything beyond that. Nobody Rigvedam here? Okay. Krishna Yajurvedam. No Rigvedam? Okay. Krishna Yajurvedam. Shukla Yajurvedam. Samavedam. Atharva Vedam? Okay. So in Rigvedam, remember, I am just giving you a few instances. There are over 10 mandalams in Rigvedam. The first mandalam, Shataminnu Sharado Antim. This is the mantra. Shata. Shata means Shataminnu Sharado. Sharad. What does Sharad mean? What does Sharad Ritu mean? Shishira means winter. Very good. Autumn. Autumn is called Sharad Ritu. That is why there are many Navaratris which come. The one that we all celebrate largely is called Sharad Navaratri. So Sharan Navaratri it is called. Generally people will write as Sharada Navaratri. It is Sharan Navaratri. Navaratri that comes during autumn season. So Sharad means autumn. But remember, as per our Amarakosham and other dictionaries in Sanskritam, the other word for a year, 1 year, is also Sharad. Sharad means 1 year, also means autumn. So when they say, Shatam Mangalyam Tanduna Nena Mama Jivana Hetuna Kanthe Badhanami Shubhage Tvam Jiva Sharada Shatam. May you live for 100 years or 100 autumns, because in a year you will get only 1 autumn. You will not get 3-4 autumns. But anything other than Grishma Kalam, because in Chennai you will get many Grishma Kalams. Right, forget those Grishma Kalams. Sharad Kalam will come only once. So 100 autumns is equal to 100 years. Now I am telling you, Rigvedam says Shatam, Shatanno Rasva Sharado, Pashyema Sharadashatam, Jivema Sharadashatam, Shatam Jivantu Sharadaha, Yatir Jivanti Sharadashatam. All this I am quoting from Rigvedam. Various mantras confirm that a human will live for 100 years or 100 autumns. Now let's go to Yajurvedam. Shatam Tva Hemantan. It gives you one another Ritu called Hemanta Ritu. So you will see 100 Hemanta Ritus again, which means you will live for 100 years. Whether you see 100 autumns or 100 summers or 100 Hemantas, you will live for 100 years. Shatayuhu Purushaha. Shatamanam Bhavati. When they give you Ashirvachanam, Shatamanam Bhavati. Shatayuh Purusha Shatendriyaha. So you will live for 100 years. At whichever age you ask for blessing, they will give you that. We don't know whether when you seek blessings at the age of 90, whether it is 90 plus 100 or 90 plus 10. Because if the universal set is 100, 100 minus 90 will be the complement, right? We don't know whether they want you to live, because if you're going to live for 190 years, assume, most companies will go bankrupt, paying pension. Okay. Now, Yajurveda, Krishna Yajurvedam says, Shatam Tva Hemantan. Shatayuhu Purushaha, Sharada Shatam. It deals with 100, 100, 100. Shukla Yajurvedam, in Shatapatha Brahmanam, it says, Shataminnu Sharado Antideva. This comes in Shatapatha Brahmanam of Shukla Yajurveda. Again, Shukla Yajurveda in 6-7 instances confirms a person will live for 100 years. Now let's come to Samavedam. There is an Upanishad called Chandogya Upanishad. Only if you pay attention, you will get the answer and you will be able to enjoy, relish the answer. That's all. Then, waste okaradu. So in Chandogya Upanishad of Samavedam, there is a Vidya called Purusha Vidya. Remember this. In Purusha Vidya, the mantra says, the one who performs this Vidya divides his life into 3 phases. The first phase is called Pratasavanam. So the one who practices Pratasavanam, Chaturvimshati Varshani, will live for 24 years. Vimshati means 20. Chaturvimshati means 24. So the one who performs the first phase called Pratasavanam shall live for 24 years. Next, Madhyandinam Savanam, second phase, shall live for Chatuschatvarimshad Varshani, for 44 years. Chatuschatvarimshad, 44. The one who performs the third phase, Tritiya Savanam, Yanyashtaschatvarimshad Varshani, 48 years he will live. So 24 plus 44 plus 48. You have to keep your calculator on. Tell me what is the number. Stand up on the bench. 116, because you have got 24, 44 and 48. So 4, 4 and 8. You don't have to get the final number also. It has to lead to 6 in the answer, correct? If 116 years you can live Maximum, if you follow this, Purusha Vidya says Samavedam. See, Vedam generally says 100. But Chandogya Upanishad of Samavedam says if you practice sincerely Purusha Vidya, you will live for 116 years. Now let's go to Atharva Vedam. We never bother about this Vedam, but we have to give importance because it is a very important Vedam. It says, Ayushte Sharada Shatam. You will live for 100 years. So Rig Vedam, Krishna Yajur Vedam, Shukla Yajur Vedam, Sama Vedam, Atharva Vedam. When it says or brings the human lifespan into context, it says 100 years or 100 autumns or 100 springs, whatever, 100. Now let's go to Ishavasya Upanishad. Jijeva Shatam Samaha. Second mantra says you live for 100 years. Now, the moment I say all this, you will say, no sir, during Ramayana times, the lifespan was longer. Right? This is the answer you can give. In Treta Yugam, human can live for many thousand years. Now it has reduced. Okay. I have told you on the other hand, all the Vedas confirm it is 100 or 100 plus a few years. Which Veda did Rama read? He must have studied Vedas under Vasishtha. Did he read this version of Vedas or Treta Yuga version? Same Vedas he should have read because Vedas are eternal. They won't change. In Yuga to Yuga it will not change. Same Vedas he must have read under Vasishtha. So it confirms 100. How do you know that, sir? Don't throw such things into our minds. We are all very logical. That is why in Ramayanam itself, within Valmiki Ramayanam, in Sundara Kandam, Sita tells Hanuman, Kalyani bata gatheyam laukiki pratibhatima yeti jivantamanando naram varsha shatadapi. In Sundara Kandam, Sita tells Hanuman, like how a human can live for 100 years. So this argument that in Treta Yugam, 10,000 years you can live is demolished because Sita tells Hanuman, in Ramayana itself you can live only for 100 years. See, let us come to our own normal telephone practice. We are talking about someone and that person calls. What will we say? 100 vayas. Why can't we make it 1,000? What is the harm now? Unakku 1000 vayas. Why? See, valaradha valarom. Adu 1000 valaradala. Adu 100 nu sollano. Adu sollradhu puriyirudho? Arthamainda? Artha agidiya? Samajh mein aaya? Vera enna irukku? Manasilayam. Njan paranathu. Malayalathil whichever language I speak, lifespan will be only 100 years. No sir, in Hindi you have to increase it by 20. See, Ashwin is back to Chennai. So, Hindi means you have to increase 20. Whichever language, Russian, Cambodian, whichever language, 100. Okay? Banana tea. Now, during the Ramayana time, Sita confirms. In Valmiki Ramayanam, I am not taking Kamba Ramayanam, 𝗟𝗡𝗙𝗏 Ramayanam, 𝗠𝗢𝗏𝗏 ka Ramcharitmanas, nothing. Valmiki's Ramayanam, Sita tells Hanuman, Naram Varsha Shatadapi, like how a human lives for 100 years. So this theory that in Treta Yugam they live for 20,000 years is demolished. During Krishna's times, now people will ask, हम कृष्ण भक्त हैं, आप बोल दीजिए कि भागवत के काल में कैसा होता था? I'll tell you. न तयोर्याति निर्वेशम पितोर्मर्त्यः शतायुषा. Krishna meets his parents Devaki and Vasudeva in the jail after 10 years. He says, I am indebted so much to you that I can't reciprocate what you have done for me even if I live for 100 years. So in Krishna's time also the lifespan was 100 years. In Rama's time also it was 100 years. Because Vedas too confirm it is 100 years. 100 years for whom? For a human. Who says he's a human? Rama says he's a human. And how did this 11,000 years come into picture? You have to go back to the question and again. Then how do we reconcile with 11,000 years? Wait, abhi picture baki hai. Now, we will go to Brihad Jataka by Varaha Mihira. They are all great astrologers. They say a human can live for 127 years. Slowly it is increasing from 100 to 116, 116 to 127. How does this 127 come? Because in Jyotishya Shastram, you have dasha for each grahas. Surya dasha, Chandra dasha, Angaraka dasha, Shani dasha, Shukra dasha. All this put together will, if you have to live, if maximum you can live for 127 years, because all these planetary positions will take a human to 127 years. The same 𝗤𝗏𝗍𝗫 says, if you practice yoga well, everything you do, 𝗥𝗘𝗙𝗘𝗥𝗏 tea, and don't have this pakoda in the evening, then you can live for 120 years and 5 days. Maximum 120 years. So he says this is 𝗤𝗘𝗙𝗘𝗏 because we have a list of 60 years in the Hindu calendar. We say Krodhanama Samvatsare, Vijayanama Samvatsare, we say, right? Like this, there are 60 Samvatsarams. That is why you finish that 60th year with a bang, because you were born in the same year 60 years back. That has gone a full cycle. So you are doing षष्टि अब्ध पूर्ति. Now if you live for 120 years, you do 2 षष्टि अब्ध पूर्tis. So 𝗤𝗏𝗍𝗫 says you can live for 120 years and 5 days. Now, do we have pratyaksha pramanam? Something that we can quote. Bhagavad Ramanuja lived for 120 years, 1017 to 1137. It is recorded in history. 101 years, Vedanta Deshika lived. 𝗤𝗢𝗡𝗏𝗏 𝗔𝗠𝗏 𝗏𝗏𝗏 𝗏𝗏𝗏 101 years. Paramacharya of Kanchi missed the 100th year just by 2 months. 2 to 3 months. So he too lived approximately, you know this approximation? In maths you generally put that river-like thing, approximately to 100. Vedanta Deshika lived slightly over 100, 101. Ramanuja lived 120 years. Now also one Padma Shri awardee, some yogi person who practices yoga, has lived for 125 years. If you go to Japan, you'll easily find 103, 107, 110, 111. But it all revolves around 100. Now you may ask, why didn't Veda say 115? Why does it say Shata? Simple. In cricket, even if Sachin hits 121 runs, you will say he scored a century. Correct? So century, that 100 is your benchmark. That being the case, how does Ramayana say that Rama ruled for 11,000 years or performed Ashwamedha Yagam for 10,000 or 11,000 years? Is the first question. For that, I am going to take you through a few mathematical shlokas in the Ramayana. You have to pay complete attention, then only you can answer. I am sure even if you are away from this simultaneous equations of algebra for the last 20-30 years, you can still answer. I am very sure of your capability, whether you are sure or not. I am sure. First, I will take you through the first verse. You have to pay vigilance to it. Vishwamitra enters the court of Dasharatha and says, I want Rama to come along with me to protect the sacrifices that I perform, the yajna that I perform from demons like Maricha and Subahu and their mother called as Tataka. That time, Dasharatha initially promises. He is very good in election manifesto. He'll promise. But when it comes to implementation, he is worried. He says, why do you ask my son? My son is not even 16 years of age. See, if somebody asks, how old is your son? You will say 14, 15. You will never say he is not even 18. They ask, will you give mathematical equations to the other person? No. Unless and until that situation warrants it. What is that situation which is warranting it? See, for example, if somebody asks, oh, it's a nice Tesla. Is your daughter driving? That time you will say, she is not even 18. Only when that situation warrants, you will say that. What was the situation? To fight. So it was believed that in those days, to fight, you have to be 16 years of age. That is why Dasharatha says, Una Shodasha Varisho Me Ramaha Rajiva Lochanaha, my lotus petal-eyed son that I have is not even 16. That time he doesn't say no, less than 16. Una. Una means slightly less than. So now you could see, if at all, if I say less than 16, it could be even 1. My child is just born. That could also be. But una means slightly less, not less. So it could have been 15, 15 and a half, 14, 14 and a half, 13, 13 and a half. We don't know. So X is the age of Rama and X is less than 16. Then what is the age? Again, for that we need to understand there is one vakyam of Maricha to Ravana. Maricha is now in Dakshina Bharata. Ravana comes seeking his help, asking him to go as a gem-studded golden deer. That time Maricha says, Pratyuvacha Mahabhagam Vishwamitra Mahamunim Una Dvadasha Varshoyam Akritayastrascha Raghavaha. When Rama hit me upon the advice of Vishwamitra, he was around 12 years of age. So X is less than 16 is equation number 1. Through Maricha Vakyam, we know that when he hit X was 12. Thereby 12 is less than 16. That is proven. Now, around the same time he must have gotten married to Sita. What age was Sita? That is when Sita gives one clue. She tells Ravana, who comes as a sannyasi, Mama Bharta Mahateja Vayasa Panchavimshakaha. See, in the railway stations, at least 15-20 years back, my grandmother used to say, don't talk to strangers. They will give you biscuit. Don't eat. You remember? Because children, somebody gives that. So don't be achara. Don't take biscuits from anybody. And whenever I used to be left home alone, then she used to say, don't open the door to any stranger. Look through the window. Only she'll give some code word. I have to tell that code word. If it is the home person, then they will give that reply. Then only I have to open that door. I don't know if you have had such practices. So Sita was so innocent that she didn't even bother to ask such security questions to Ravana. You remember in the password they will ask, which was your first pet's name? If I don't have a pet, what will I answer? Somebody in the house name I have to give. Right, our pet. So, she blurts out. She reveals to Ravana, she tells, Mama Bharta Mahateja Vayasa Panchavimshakaha. Oh man, whoever has come, that sannyasi, Mama Bharta Mahateja, my husband who's very valorous, because Rama has left that place, he has gone behind Maricha and so has Lakshmana. She's alone. Mama Bharta Mahateja Vayasa Panchavimshakaha. My husband was 25 years of age when he left his house. 𝗥𝗘𝗙𝗪 varshani mama janmani ganyate. People who calculated say that I was 18 years of age. Correct? 18 years of age I was when I left Ayodhya. Now we have to reconcile with 12 years of Rama when he got married to Sita. Because she says 25. That means something must have happened between 12 and 25. This is where Sita tells Hanuman. There is one vakyam in Sundarakandam. Sama dvadasha tatraham Raghavasya niveshane. Hey Hanuman, after marriage, I lived in Raghava's house, Dasharatha's house for 12 years. So if Rama is getting married at the age of 12 and they lived happily for 12 years, 12 plus 12 is 24. And Sita is 18 when she left Ayodhya, that means 18 minus 12 is 6 when she got married. Correct? If Y is the age of Sita and X is the age of Rama, you will get 4 simultaneous equations. Correct? But she tells that my husband was 25 when he left. See, if it is 6 and 12 at the age of marriage, then 12 years in Ayodhya, it must be 18 and 24. Why does she say 25? Because when Dasharatha calls Rama, announcing for his coronation, Pattabhishekam, it was on Rama's birthday, Chaitra Punarvasu. So Rama's 25th year had begun that day. Then you may ask, why didn't Sita's 19 begin? Because not every husband and wife will be born on the same day. Why didn't Sita turn 19? Now, we have one confusing verse. Till now it is understandable. We have one problem here. Who creates that problem? Kaushalya Mata creates. When Rama goes and tells his mother that I have been ordained to go to the forest for 14 years, she laments. Dasha-saptacha varshani jatasya tavaragava. It has been 17 years since your birth. When Rama left Ayodhya, what was his age? 25th year. But the mother says 17. How? For which the commentator says, Rajavaryasya Raghunathasya tu garbha navame kshatriyasya upanayana kaloktehe. See, now for a Brahmana, it is the 8th year that the Upanayanam should be performed. 8th year. What have you heard? What age have you heard? 7. But why Shastram says 8? Because the first year is treated as Pitrugarbham and Matrugarbham inside the womb, gestation. So 1 plus after having come out 7. So 7th year from birth, but 8th year from the conceiving. So 1 plus 7. This is for a Brahmana. For a Kshatriya it is Navami. 1 plus 8. So 1 in the Pitru-Matru Garbham and 8th year since birth. So 8th year if he had undergone Upanayanam, that is his second birth. So if you treat this as 0, then 8 plus 17 is 25. You are getting the number. So number is not a problem. So Sita was married at the age of 6 to Rama who was married at the age of 12. They lived in Ayodhya for 12 more years. So 24 and 18. It was announced on the day of Rama's birthday. So it was 25. Sita was still 18. They went to the forest for 14 years, which makes it 39 for Rama and 32 for Sita. Correct? Now, they returned from Ayodhya. This is where you have to be very attentive for the Uttara Kanda part. Now we have finished Pattabhishekam. Now first question. Sir, did Uttara Kanda really happen? There's been a discussion amongst my relatives and friends if really Uttara Kanda happened or not. We are not sure if Uttara Kanda happened. I asked why Uttara Kanda didn't happen. Now they'll say, first is we are not comfortable with the incidents of Uttara Kanda. Rama leaving, abandoning a Garbhavati Sita. Then we will be questioned a lot by the political circle. आप मर्यादा पुरुषोत्तम राम के बारे में बोलते हैं, लेकिन वो कैसे छोड़ सकते हैं अपने धर्म पत्नी को? We won't have an answer. Either there's an answer, we don't know the answer, or we won't have an answer. Second is the killing of Shambhuka. So killing of Shambhuka means immediately we will have a lot of questions. So what is the best way to say that the entire Uttara Kanda itself is concocted? No sir, Uttara Kanda बाद में किसी और ने लिखा था, वाल्मीकि जी नहीं लिखे थे. Now we have to understand when did Valmiki ji write? See, Valmiki was not accompanying Rama since birth. Okay, here Rama is born. He didn't do that. See, remember when Rama goes on the exile for 14 years, at which age he went? 25. Very good, 25. So he went to Sringiverapuram of Guha, Bharadwaja Ashramam in Prayaga, and Chitrakuta by the banks of river Mandakini. Then after that he went to the ashramam of Atri Anasuya, Sutikshna, Sharabhanga and Valmiki. He goes to the ashramam of Valmiki. Valmiki at that point in time did not know that later he will be the one who's chronicling Rama's biography. That time he didn't know. He said, "Aiye, ghar mein aiye, tashrif rakhiye, farmaiye." All this he said, gave whatever fruits he could offer and he left. When Rama, now keep this aside, that time Valmiki did not chronicle. When did this chronicling or probably putting together Rama's life begin? Rama was 39 when the Pattabhishekam happened. Sita was 32. Since Pattabhishekam, 2 years had passed. This is what Uttarakandam states. It states, Tathar Abhishekanantaram Varshadvayam Jatam. Abhishekanantaram means after Abhishekam. Varshadvayam, 2 years, Jatam, 2 years had passed by. So what is Rama's age? 41. Sita, 34 and a half, 34 and quarter. Because the verse says, 2 Shishira Ritus went by, 2 winter seasons had passed by. So winter season may extend to 2 or 3 months. So you won't be able to correctly arrive at that particular age. So Sita must have been 34 to 35, Rama was 41. That the same sarga that Valmiki says 2 years had passed since Pattabhishekam, he confirms that Sita was pregnant. 𝗤𝗚𝗡𝗙𝗚𝗡 𝗦𝗍𝗍. 𝗤𝗚𝗡𝗙𝗚𝗡 means she was pregnant. So she must have been in the first trimester. We have 3 trimesters. First trimester she must have been. It is in the very same sarga that one informer called Bhadra comes and says, not so nice talks have been happening about Sita. That is when Rama has to take a very hard decision. He says, of course, now I am not getting into what are the positives and negatives of his decision. That is not a part of our discussion now. That is a separate discussion. He calls Lakshmana and Lakshmana says, you are giving me the toughest task in my life because she is more than my mother. She is pregnant and I have to abandon her. You have to do it, Lakshmana. Lakshmana takes Sita, abandons her very close to the ashramam of Valmiki. That was a very strategic move. Then Sita, of course, throws a volley of questions. She finds them unanswered. Finally, she cries and she leaves. And Valmiki comes and escorts her. Lakshmana leaves. Valmiki comes and escorts her. This is when Valmiki has doubts. These things, I have met Rama once. I have heard so much about him. Perfect man, complete man, Raymond. How can he afford to do this act? So he has a lot of questions that hover in his mind. That is when Narada Maharishi comes and he asks that question, Konvasmin sampratam loke gunavan kascha viryavan. Because all this while he was thinking Rama was 100% perfect. Now, see, Sita has been abandoned. Sampratam loke, Narada Maharishi, tell me one person now in the present world who has got 16 qualities. Narada knew the context. He takes a while and says, Valmiki, sabar karo. It is the same Rama whom you have been doubting is the one who has got 16 qualities. Valmiki is still confused. That is when he goes out to the river, spots 2 birds, kills one of them, utters a shapa and comes back. That is when Brahma is present. Instead of Narada, Narada's father, Brahma is present. Brahma says, it is not a shapam, it is an ashirvachanam. And he concludes and he says, from now on you have to chronicle Rama's life. Valmiki has a doubt. 41 years have passed since Rama's birth. How will I know what has happened in his life? That is when Brahma says, I bless you, rahasyam cha prakasham cha, whatever is known to the general public and media, and what is not known to them, both rahasyam and prakasham will be known in your palm. You can see it and you can write it. So Valmiki starts writing down. Now he also has Sita in his ashramam. Remember, she is pregnant. Sita's presence or Sita's identity is not known to the people who lived in Valmiki's ashram. See, they did not know it was Sita. See, today we have media. How will they know? No, madam, one selfie, madam. Sita ji, बहुत मैं आपको देखने के लिए तरस रहा था. अब मैं आपसे एक फोटो निकालना चाहता हूँ. No, they were very innocent people. That is why they had a happy life. So, they were never bothered. They thought their Acharya has brought a woman, we have to serve her. Sita did not reveal you. पता है कि मैं कौन हूँ? Snusha Dasharathasyaha, I am the daughter-in-law of Dasharatha. Tatha Janakanandini. Nothing she said. She kept quiet. So there was no board stating J Sita, Sita Ram, nothing. Air hostesses and all have read, nothing. They didn't ask, she didn't say. And Valmiki thought, let us keep quiet. At times silence is more than golden, it is platinum. He kept quiet. On the other hand, remember, Rama was having a tough time because he had left the love of his life. Around the same time in Madhuvanam is the current day Mathura. There was an Asura called a Lavana-asura. He was tormenting the people. That is when people came and complained to Rama. Rama said, I don't have to protect you all every time. My brother will do. Shatrughna tum jao. Your name is Shatrughna. Once you fight. Right? The one who brings an end to the Shatrus. When have you fought? Go fight. So Shatrughna left. When Shatrughna left to Madhuvanam to kill Lavanasura, fight Lavanasura and thereby kill him, in the nights, armies will not walk because horses need to rest. So they had to halt. They halted in Valmiki's ashram. Valmiki did not inform that your Babhi is in my ashram. He told Sita, you don't come out. Meanwhile, he entertained the entire army, was very hospitable to them. That night, on his sojourn to Madhuvanam, when Shatrughna stayed in Valmiki's ashramam, it is that very night that Sita delivered the two boys. The shlokam says, Yameva ratrim Shatrughnaha parnashalam samavishat tameva ratrim Sitapi prasuta 𝗥𝗙𝗙𝗏. Yameva ratrim. That night when Shatrughna stayed, the same night she delivered the two boys. They were given the names Lava and Kusha on the 12th day. Why? Because for Kshatriyas, Namakaranam will not happen on the 11th day. It will happen on the 12th day. Shatrughna was not bothered who these children were, who is the mother. His objective was to go to Madhuvanam. But he left. Why is this important? Because he goes to Madhuvanam, kills Lavanasura, establishes the capital and administers his Rajyam very well for 12 years. 12th year, he feels that it has been long since I've seen my elder brother Rama and comes to Ayodhya. How old will these boys be? 12. Yes, so don't ask a simple question. Jujubi questions these are. So 12 years he stayed. This is what it says. Tato 𝗏𝗏 varshe Shatrughno Ramapalitam. So it confirms 12 years. Now meanwhile, Rama consults with Bharata and says, see, as a king I have to do some yajna. Let me perform Rajasuya. Bharata says, nahi bhaiya, Rajasuya yajna ke liye you will have to make lot of enemies. Instead do another yajna which is more beneficial. That is when Rama decides to do Ashwamedham. In Ashwamedham, when he begins, it was not 1 year since he began. It was less than 1 year since he began. Tents were laid, all priests had come. There needed to be some entertainment, infotainment. That is when Valmiki, who has composed Rama and Sita's life history because of Brahma's words or command, teaches this entire work from Bala Kandam to Yuddha Kandam, which is till Rama Pattabhishekam, to the two boys, Lava and Kusha, with Ragam and Talam. The boys were not aware that this is the biography of their own father and mother. They were thinking Ram ji kahin hai, Sita ji Maiya kahin honge. Pata nahi tha ki Ram ji or Sita Maiya, they are their own Maiya and for Sitam Mayam Shri Ramudu Maku Tandri. Shri Ramudu Maku Tandri, they didn't know. They came to this place where the yajna was being performed. They sang. Everybody was mesmerized. Ram too was mesmerized. He too listened to his own charitam. Midilai selvi 𝗤𝗢𝗡𝗀 𝗪𝗏𝗏𝗀 𝗔𝗠𝗙𝗪𝗏 says 𝗏𝗪𝗡𝗀𝗏 of Kerala. 1300 years back he says, Midilai selvi, which is Sita, 𝗤𝗢𝗡𝗪 𝗪𝗏𝗏𝗀. Makkal means Bahuvachanam too. 𝗔𝗠𝗙𝗪𝗏, those little boys sang. 𝗪𝗏𝗪𝗡𝗏, he heard his own biography through his own children. Which means whatever Valmiki had written was true. Else Rama would have intervened. No, ऐसा नहीं हुआ था. Valmiki थोड़ा change कर दीजिए. He has sanctioned. So Rama's biography has been sanctioned by Rama to the biographer called Valmiki through his students. Correct. Now Rama realizes that these two boys are his own boys. He realizes. He says, ask Sita to come. Sita keeps Valmiki in the front and walks towards the Yajna-vatika. When the question of Shapatham again comes, the Bhumi breaks and she enters the Bhumi. Bhumi Pravesham happens. Now, these two children realized, see, when they didn't know who their father was, they lived with their mother. When they realized who their father was, the mother had gone. So, these two boys were under the guardianship of their own father, which is Rama. Now, after this comes the shloka. Because Sita has gone, Rama has to continue that Ashwamedha Yajna. Where is Sita? She has gone. What do we do? He created a beautiful pratima in gold of Sita. Yajne cha patnyarthe janaki kanchani bhavat. Golden pratima of Sita he kept and performed the yajna. After completing the yajna, what happened? See, you have to pay attention. Then only you will know the problem. Kaushalya, Kaikeyi and Sumitra passed away after the yajna is over. But before the yajna, there is a shloka. Dashavarsha Sahasrani, 10,000 years, 𝗤𝗍𝗍𝗔 𝗓𝗏. Rama performed the Ashwamedha yajna for how many years? 10,000 years. Don't say 10,000. 10,000. We can't even imagine that number. 10,000 years he performed. After that, the mothers had passed away. So what must be the age of Kaushalya, Kaikeyi, Sumitra? You're getting the problem now. It is not 10,000 alone, because they were living even during the times of Dasharatha. Dasharatha ruled for 60,000 years. Add this 10,000. Now the three mothers go away. Now comes another problem. Bharata goes to Gandhara Desham to win over the Gandharvas. That becomes Kandahar. He rules there. Then Lakshmana is banished from the kingdom because of a Sambhavam of Durvasa. That is all beyond the scope of our discussion. He is banished. After Lakshmana is banished, Rama is not able to live even for 4 days without Lakshmana. He says, I can't live without Lakshmana. I will enter the waters of Sarayu. It is called Mahaprasthanam. He leaves for Sarayu. Now when he starts for Sarayu, Bharata and Shatrughna also joined Rama. So what was their age? The same 10,000 years has to come. Then Mandavi and Shrutakirti also joined. 10,000 years. The same people who bade farewell to him while he left Ayodhya for the 14 years of exile now entered the waters of Sarayu along with him. So the people of Ayodhya also lived for 10,000 years. Getting the problem first. So if we say Rama lived for 10,000 years, we can give an answer. He is Paramatma, 𝗪𝗏𝗍𝗏, 𝗪𝗏𝗡𝗏 Samarthyam. If he wants, he can live for 70,000 years. The people of Ayodhya, Bharata, Shatrughna, their wives Mandavi and Shrutakirti. So the problem needs to be solved. How do we solve this problem? In Ramayana, one way, simple way. In Tamil, there is a movie. Now, how many of you don't know this line? It's a golden line. If you don't know, very tough to get moksha. ಕನ್ನಡದವ್ರಿಗೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗತ್ತಾ? ಇದು ತಮಿಳ್ ಚಲಚಿತ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಒಬ್ಬ ಸೌಂದರ್ಯವಾಗಿರೋ, ಪ್ರಾಚೀನವಾಗಿರೋ, ಅಷ್ಟು ಸ್ವಾಪದೇಶಾರ್ಥದಿಂದ ಇರೋ ಈ ವಾಕ್ಯ. ಅಷ್ಟು ನಾವು ఉరుదరవస ನಾನು ಒಂದ್ಸರಿ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ನಾನು తెలుగు వారు ఉన్నారా ఇక్కడ? ఇది అనువాదం చేస్తారా తెలుగు భాషలో? నేను ఒక్కసారి చెప్తున్నానంటే అది 100. If I tell once, it is equal to 100. See, all these are hyperboles. If you tell once, it means you're telling only once. It doesn't mean 100. What that person says is, I don't have the energy to tell you 100 times. That's all. So we cannot conclude that way. There should be a shastric explanation to it. This is where I will take you to what Ramayana commentators have to state. The commentaries to Ramayana, I am telling you Valmiki's Ramayana. There is a great commentary called Tilaka by a commentator called Nagesha Bhatta. Roughly 500-550 years back. 550 years back, he lived in Bharata. He says, Sita Tyagottaram means after abandoning Sita, Ashwamedha pravritya. Rama began the pravritti, that particular yajna of Ashwamedha. Tadante, towards it, Dashavarsha Sahasrani 𝗤𝗍𝗍𝗔 𝗓𝗏 Valmiki Uttescha. Valmiki has said Rama lived for 10,000 years performing Ashwamedha. There he says, Yadva Varsha Shabdo Dinaparaha. Here 1 year is equal to 1 day. So how many years? 10,000 years is equal to 10,000 days. Now, I have to tell you how he arrived at this number. 10,000 years is equal to 10,000 days. How many days do we have in 1 year? 365. 365 days and 6 hours. That is why we get that leap year at the end of 4 years. But let us go by what the scriptures say. We have Chandramanam. If you go to Andhra, Karnataka Deshams, all their movements will be based on the moon. That is why in the mid of the night they will marry. If you go to Andhra or Karnataka, Muhurtam will be in the mid of the night, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock. So Chandramanam says there are 355 days in a year. 355. Correct. Shauramanam, which we follow in maybe Bengal, in Tamil Nadu, Kerala, that says 366. There is one calculation. Shatapatha Brahmanam says one particular number. Vishnu Puranam's commentary called Vishnu Chittiyam, Vishnu Chitta confirms that it is around 366. There is another calculation, 30 days a month. So 12 into 30, 360. There is another calculation based on science, 365 days and 6 hours. So the range is 355 to 366 with numbers like 360 and 365.2, 6 3s are 24, right? So 0.33 getting inserted. Or 6 4s are 24. So 0.25. So on an average, if you take 360 for our general calculation, 355 to 366 is the range. 360 you take as average. Take your phone. Divide 10,000 days divided by 360. You have to do it. How many? What is the number? 27.7. So 27 years and stand up on the bench. 0.7 is not 7 months. 0.7 of 12. If you answer like this, where is the gun? Second Amendment, USA, I'll use that. 27 years and 8 months. Okay, so if you divide 10,000 days by 360, 27 years and 8 months. Okay. For which the commentator states, how does this number come? Vivahottaram, after vivaha, after marriage. Tavanti gatani 𝗤𝗏𝗪𝗧𝗪𝗀 Ayodhyayam. How many years they lived in Ayodhya? 𝗵𝗚𝗎𝗪𝗏. How many in the forest? 14. Ekam punar Ayodhyayam. Ekam means 2 years since Pattabhishekam, which is roughly 1 year and a few months after Pattabhishekam, before she was abandoned. So 12 plus 14 plus 1 point years, how many will you get? 27 years and 8 months. You're able to get that calculation. So this 10,000 years is equal to 10,000 days, which is 12 years from marriage, 14 years in the forest, 1 year plus a few months after marriage before the abandonment. Why? Because only after marriage the man is allowed to perform Agni Karyam, a sacrifice, a yajna. So with Sita, he performed 10,000 years means 10,000 days. Why, sir, in this calculation, why can't he say 10,000 days directly? Why should he say 10,000 years? Correct? For which, there is one mantra in the Taittiriya Brahmanam of Krishna Yajurveda. This Krishna Yajurveda mantra states very clearly, Panchapanchashatas samvatsaraha. So, Taittiriya Brahmanam tells that the human, Nara, should perform a yagam called Vishwasrij. It is there in the Vedas. If you add the number of years that the Vedas says for performing this yaga, it says 1,000 years. Sahasra Samvatsara Yagam. So this yagam is called Sahasra Samvatsaram, 1,000 years. Jaimini, a great Maharishi, brought all the sages together and there was a big brainstorming session. They all concluded, the first sutra is Sahasra Samvatsaram Tadayusham Asambhavatu Manusheshu. A human cannot live for 1,000 years. First conclusion. Vedam says perform for 1,000 years. But these people concluded a human cannot live for 1,000 years. Then there was a question. One person said, no sir, there is one special tonic. You drink the tonic, you live for 1,000 years. Apiva tad adhikara manushya dharmaha syat. For this, the second sutra is, then they say, Why does he say 1000? Is it for humans? Yes. Vedas are meant for humans. It is not meant for Gandharvas and Siddhas. It is for us. So it is directed towards a human. But it says that human has to perform for 1000 years. So a human cannot live for 1000 years. But the statement is meant for human. Na asamarthyat sambandha darshanat. So then they say you have to drink that juice. Then these rishis say, hey, aisa kuch juice tonic nahi hai bhaiya. Aisa kuch nahi hai where you can live for 1000 years. You perform yoga, you eat healthy food, you may live instead of 100, 105 or 110 maximum. 1000 years and all you cannot live. 𝗠𝗘𝗙𝗘𝗥𝗘𝗧 𝗠𝗢𝗡𝗙𝗪 𝗏 ekasmin asambhavat. So then 𝗏𝗡𝗙𝗪, one another rishi, in minutes of the meeting we record, right, this particular person said this. So 𝗏𝗡𝗙𝗪, one particular Muni states, no, what Vedam states is, I will begin the yagam. I will perform for 20 years. My son will perform for 30 years. His son will perform for 40 years. So by the time you have 20 generations, put together summation 1000 years. 𝗏𝗡𝗙𝗪 says this. But 𝗖𝗢𝗡𝗞𝗦 𝗏𝗡𝗙𝗪 ekasyev prayogaha syat is the sutra. What it states is, if Vedam says, do this yagam, the fruit of the yagam will come for the 20th generation. Simple question, why should I do that? What I do, I don't get phalam. 20th generation gets. The rishi states, then you can never convince a human to do that kriya. Because 20th generation is getting it. 𝗣𝗽𝗽𝗍𝗔 गुह्यन्तरः स्यादिति लाभुकायणः संवत्सरो विचालित्वा. लाभुकायना says, see, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. That वो गलत है. We cannot ask somebody to do it for the 20th generation. Then what is the sutra? संवत्सरो विचालित्वा. See, Sahasra Samvatsaram. Sahasra means 1000. Samvatsaram. So, of the two words, one must be taken in the secondary sense. Secondary sense means Gaunartham. So, when we say this particular Vishnu Sahasranama committee is doing 1 koti Vishnu Sahasranama Japam. You know what it means? They will gather 1000 people. Each one, all of them should recite Vishnu Sahasranamam 10 times. So 10 into 1000 into 1000. Then you will get that number. So if I say 250 people perform this yagam for 4 years, how many you will get? 1000, 250 into 4. But the Rishi says that is not what Jaimini has meant. Samvatsaro vichalitvat. So Sahasra Samvatsaram. Sahasram, the number 1000 should not be taken in the secondary sense. Then what is to be taken? Samvatsaram. Because there is a lunar calendar, solar calendar and a nakshatra calendar. So in Vedam, there is a vakyam which is Aharbhai Samvatsaraha. 1 day is to be treated as 1 year. Vedam states in Yaga Kriya. So if you treat it that way, 1000 years is equal to 1000 days divided by 360. You will get 2 years and a few months. So Vedas will always say that which is relatable and applicable only. So in terms of yaga, in such unprecedented scenarios, 1 year can be taken as 1 day. Correct? So that is why Valmiki, what does he states? He states Dashavarsha Sahasrani, 10,000 years, for which I gave you the calculation. 12 years from marriage, 14 years in the forest, 1 year and a few months after Pattabhishekam. So 27 years and 8 months, 9 months, which is equal to 10,000 years is equal to 10,000 days divided by 360, which is 27 years and 8 months or 9 months. Correct? But there is something remaining. That 1000 is remaining. Dashavarsha Shatani. So Rama performed the Ashwamedham before meeting Sita for how many years? I told you some time back. He met Sita. Ashwamedham he had begun. 1 year. You remember I told you 17.5 minutes back. Same place. 1 year. After Sita had gone into the Bhumi, he had created a Pratima of Sita and had to finish that yagam. So, 1000 years is equal to 1000 days divided by 360 will give you 2 years and a few months, of which 1 year was performed in the presence of Sita but in her physical absence. The next remaining portion was performed in Sita's physical absence and mortal absence as well. So 2 years and a few months means 41st year he had Pattabhishekam. Then you have to add these years. Around 53 to 55 was the lifespan of Rama. 55. But go back to the question problem statement. I told you this 11,000 years is mentioned in two contexts. One, Rama's Ashwamedham. Second, I told you Rama's rule. Very good. 11,000 years is Rajyam. So what you have to do is, that time you have to make 10,000 plus 1,000, 11,000. 11,000 years is equal to 11,000 days. Divided by 360 will give you 30 years and 5 months. Add it to 39th year. 39th year he did Pattabhishekam. From that he ruled for 30 years. 69 years and 5 months to 6 months. Correct? Approximate it to 70. So 70, either he must have lived for 55 years or 70 years. This is his range. Can we confirm this? There is another beautiful statement. I told you what Nagesha Bhatta says. In the last 100 years in Sri Ahobilam, there was a great scholar called 𝗤𝗏𝗏𝗏 Chakravartyachar Swami. He was given the title Sarasaragya, a great luminary of his times. He studied all the Shastric fields like Mimamsa, Tarka, Vyakarana and so on. He tells in his book, I'll just read out what he says, very interesting if you pay attention. This is in Tamil. You can all understand. Translating every line will become tough. He says, Ramayanam Valmikiyal Sheyyappattadu. Ramayanam has been compiled and composed by Valmiki. Vedame Valmikiyin Moolamaga Ramayanamaga Pirandadu Endru Munnor Kolgai. What we see as Ramayana is the essence of Vedas. Next he tells, Vedamo Oru Manidanukku Shatamanam Bhavati Shatayuh Purushaha. That Veda says that a person can live only for 100 years. என்று 100 ஆண்டுகள் தான் உண்டு என்று வரையறுக்கிறது. It gives you one particular rule that person can live only for 100 or around 100. அப்படி இருக்க ராமாயணமாகிய வேதம் எவ்வாறு ராமனுக்கு 11,000 ஆண்டுகள் ஆயுள் என்று சொல்லும்? If Vedas is what is Ramayana and Vedam says a human can live for 100 years, how can the same Ramayana says Rama live for 11,000 years? Correct. For which he says, என்று சொல்லும் தசரதன் தான் 60,000 ஆண்டுகள். Rama is better. 11,000 years. Dasharatha is 60,000 years. 60,000 ஆண்டுகள் வாழ்ந்ததாக எவ்வாறு ராமாயணம் கூறும்? Who's asking? That Swami is asking, not me. Right? எவ்வாறு கூற முடியும்? வேத விருத்தமான பொருள்களை ராமாயணம் கூர்மையாயின் அது எப்படி பிரமாணமாகும்? If something that Ramayana says is against the injunctions of the Vedas, how can you call it as the essence of Vedas? He asks. Therefore he says there is something else here. ஆக இவ்வச்சனங்களுக்கெல்லாம் பொருள் வேறு விதமாக கொள்ளுதல் வேண்டும். You have to construe the meaning different way. For this he says, கணக்கில். கணக்கு means calculation. 1, 10, 100, 1000, 10,000, 1,00,000 என்று ஸ்தானங்கள் உண்டு. Simple maths. Units place, tens place, hundreds place, thousands place. We know that. So units place is 1. Tens place is 2. Hundreds place is 3. Thousands place is 4. What does Ramayana say? Dasha Varsha Sahasrani. Sahasram is what? 4. Fourth position. Just now I said, right, 1,000 is 4. Dasha Varsha Sahasram. Sahasram is 4. 10. 10 into 4? 40. Dasha Varsha Shatani. Shatam is 3. 10 into 3? 40 plus 30? You got 70. This is what we added. 39 plus 30 years and 5 months. You got 70. Correct. Now, let us go to another thing. Now we have to solve Dasharatha. We have solved Rama. Now we have to go to Dasharatha. While Vishwamitra was wanting for Rama to come, Dasharatha resisted. He said, I can't send my son. 60,000 years I have ruled. That time he tells 60,000. How can you multiply? How do you arrive at 60,000? 6 into 10 into 1,000? Correct. 6 into 10 into 1,000 is 60,000. 1,000 is which place? 10? 2. 6 into 2 into 4? 48. So Dasharatha was 48 years when Rama was 12 years. When Rama left Ayodhya in his 25th year, Dasharatha had just completed his Sashtyabda Purti. He was 61st year. That is why generally during the 60 years period they will say do one homam. Because that is one milestone. Dasharatha tells Sumantra and Rama, something my astrologer says is not good in my horoscope. Surya Angaraka Rahuvihi, they are all in one straight line. So this time I cannot do. And Kalidasa says that 61st year when Dasharatha was years, he stood before a mirror and one strand of hair had turned grey. If you construe this as 60,000 itself, 60,000th year he got, 61st year he got. Correct? So you have arrived at Rama's age, you have arrived at Dasharatha's age. Now there is another thing. In Madras Sanskrit College, even now, there is a great scholar par excellence. He is a Mahamahopadhyaya of Chatushastra, Nyaya, Vyakarana, Mimamsa. His name is 𝗏𝗏𝗏. He has written one Sanskrit essay. Please pay attention to this, you love it. In Bhagavatam, in Srimad Bhagavatam, upon understanding that Hiranyaksha is skilled to avenge the death of his brother, Hiranyakashipu goes and seeks boons from Brahma. Brahma gives those boons. In that meanwhile, the pregnant wife Kayadu is kidnapped by Indra, rescued by Narada Maharshi. She delivers the boy called Prahlada. Boy is born. Father has returned from his tapas. He has got boons. What he should do? He should go and meet the son. He didn't do. Here Bhagavatam says, Aishwaryamattasya druptasyochastra-vartinaha kalo mahan vyatitaya. He was soaked in the opulence that he had. He had received boons. He was soaked in opulence. So he spent his time in just getting soaked. For how long? Kalo mahan. Lot of time. What does Kalo mahan mean? Eka saptati yugani. He spent 71 yugas like this. In that riches, how long did Hiranyakashipu spend? 71 yugas. Digest this first. Then comes another problem. Then he goes and calls his son. Who is his son? Now we'll see what is Prahlada's age. Pitroho ahar yaha panchahayanaha. The boy was around 5 years of age. If the father has spent 71 yugas, shouldn't the son also be 71 yugas plus? But he says 5 years. Why? For which 𝗏𝗏𝗏 Shastrigal writes in a Sanskritam article using this Jaimini's Mimamsa Sutra, in certain occasions, 1 yugam is equal to 1 month. Previous calculation, 1 year is equal to 1 day. Here, 1 yugam is equal to 1 month. So, 71 yugas is equal to 71 months divided by 12. 5 years and 11 months. That is why Bhagavatam says the boy was 5 years plus. You are able to tally it. Now, you will be, I told you, now we have to, before I conclude, I have to go back to my first part. I told you, container A has a list of events in Sanatana Dharma. Matsya Avataram, Kurma Avataram, Jalandhara Avataram, this, that. Container B is? Container C? Which is Krishna Avatar. Between Rama and Krishna, I said no notable incident happened. But now we have too many researchers, people who make videos interestingly, right? Those great video scholars, what they say is 1,78 lakh years have passed between Rama and Krishna. See, I don't know whether we have lost our intelligence or whether we have lost the ability to think. How many of you know in Chennai, Nungambakam used to have a lake? It was lake. In the last 40 years, it has become residential area. People have seen the lake. It has become a residential area. land undergoes natural or man-made changes. Dhanushkoti was livable 40-50 years back. It is a ghost town now. In certain places, earth, the sea waters keep submerging areas. Certain places they take back. Ramayana tells you clearly Ayodhya, Sarayu, Ganga, Yamuna, Chitrakoot, Nashik, Kishkinda, Tirukurungudi, Lanka. 1,78 lakh years, will they all remain the same? Won't earth undergo changes? So, when did Krishna Avataram happen? For this we have Shastric conclusion. 3102 BCE is when Krishna left his Shariram and went back to Vaikuntham. So he went to Vaikuntham. In 3102 BCE, we are in 2024 AD. So for our calculation, roughly 5,100 years back. That is why when you take Panchangam, it will say Kali Yuga is 5,000 plus years. Because when Krishna left, Kali Yuga began. When did Mahabharata happen? Roughly 35 years before Krishna left to Vaikuntham, which is around 3136. See, in BCE you have to go the other way. So 3102, add 30 to 35 years, you get 3136 BCE. That was when Mahabharata Yuddham happened, right? In Mahabharata Yuddham, there were many profits and losses, which means many people lived, survived, many people died. There is one interesting person. I'll read out this verse in Vishnu Purana. Only if you pay attention, you will relish this. Vishnu Purana, Parashara Maharshi tells his student Maitreya. He tells, 𝗤𝗙𝗏 𝗔𝗘𝗙𝗏 yo Arjuna-tanayena-bhimanyuna Bharata Yuddhe kshayamaniyata. In this Bharata Yuddham, a person called 𝗏𝗏𝗏 was killed by Arjuna Tanaya, son of Arjuna called Abhimanyu. Abhimanyu, Arjuna's father, killed one person called 𝗏𝗏𝗏. Who says this? Vishnu Purana, Parashara states. In Bhagavata Purana, Navamaskanda, Shuka tells Parikshit. Parikshit is whose son? Abhimanyu. So he tells, Tato 𝗏𝗏𝗏 yastu pitrate samarehataha. Your father killed 𝗏𝗏𝗏 in Mahabharata Yuddham. Matsya Purana says, Shrutayur abhavat tasmat. So this person 𝗏𝗏𝗏 had another name, Shrutayu. Shrutayu was killed by Abhimanyu in this Yuddha. Does Mahabharatam confirm? See, Bhagavatam confirms, Vishnu Puranam confirms, Matsya Purana confirms. Does Mahabharata confirm? Yes, in Mahabharata, Gandhari laments. Ayyo, this king is dead. Who is this king? She says, Kosalo nama adhipatihi, the one who ruled Kosala. His name is 𝗏𝗏𝗏, killed by Abhimanyu. So Mahabharata corroborates with all of this. Now who is this 𝗏𝗏𝗏? See, in Rama's parampara, Rama had two sons. Who were the two sons? Lava and Kusha. So Vishnu Purana, Bhagavata Purana, Garuda Purana, Brahma Purana, Brahmanda Purana, Matsya Purana, Shiva Purana, Raghuvamsha. 8 sources I'm telling you gives you the list of kings who lived after Rama. It begins with Kusha. Kusha, Atithi, Nishadha, Nala, Navasa, Pundarika, Kshemadharva, Devanika, Ahinagu, Pariyatra, Dala, Chala, Ukta, Vajranabha, Shankanabha, Abhyutastava, then Vishwasaha, Hiranyanabha, Kaushalya, Brahmishta, Putra, Pushya, Dhruvasandhi, Sudarshana, Agnivarna, Shigra, Maru, Prasushruta, Amarsha, Takshaka, 𝗏𝗏𝗏. So this 𝗏𝗏𝗏 is around the 32nd to 34th king in the lineage of Kusha. Rama lived for how many years as per our calculation? Either 55 or 70. 70 has more support. So if you take 70 as the average that a king lived and 32 kings passed after Kusha, and the 34th king was killed in Bharata Yuddha, 34 into 70 years, add it to Mahabharata's time, then you will get Ramayana's time. Correct? So between 5,000 and 6,000 is when Rama should have lived. Not 1,78 lakhs, 50,000. I don't know where they get all these numbers from. Now we have to understand just not to convince our own children. Forget that. You have to get convinced your own self. 60,000 years, 10,000 years. How will you even reconcile with Vedic statements where Vedam says Shatamanam Bhavati? Now, I told you the commentary to Ramayana called Tilaka by Nagesha Bhatta, Tirukkarani Chakravartyachar Swami in his book Ramayana Sudha. Third is 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 Shastrigal's research of Bhagavatam context of Prahlada's age, and Rajaji, who gave the book Chakravarti Thirumagan, writes. This came out in English as well. I'll read out what he says in Tamil. 30,000 ஆண்டு வாழ்ந்து சகரன் இறந்தான் என்று ராமாயணத்தில் சொல்லப்படுகிறது. ராமாயணத்தில் 30,000, 60,000 என்கிற பெரிய எண்கள் படித்து நாம் திகைக்க வேண்டியதில்லை. Don't get shocked. 30 வருஷ சஹஸ்ரம் என்றால் அநேக வருஷங்கள் என்றாவது அல்லது 30 வருஷமாகவேயும் கொள்ளலாம். 30,000 years is equivalent to 30. என்பது ஒரு மங்கள சஹஸ்ரம் என்பதை வருஷம் என்பதற்கு ஒரு அடையாளமாக மங்கள அடைமொழியாகவே வைத்துக் கொள்ளலாம். ஷஷ்டி சஹஸ்ரம் மக்கள். See, Sagara had how many sons? 60,000 sons. If you believe Garbhavasam is for 1 year, even if you believe he was polygamous, how many wives? Then he had to do 24/7. They had to keep on producing only children. You're able to get this. See, you may see. Imagine you have to tell this to your children. Sagara lived during those times, and Rama went on a sojourn to the forest with Vishwamitra. And while Vishwamitra was delineating the history of the river Ganga, he spoke about one of his ancestors called Sagara. You have to tell it with a baritone. And Sagara had 60,000 sons. If your grandchildren do not raise their eyebrows, there's something seriously wrong with them. 60,000 sons. You're able to get. See, you may say, I just listened like that in my childhood. That is why I told you at the start, we are going under a big generational shift today. Your children will not even hesitate to ask you this. 60,000 sons, party. How is that even possible? What answer will you give? Now you don't tell me no 60,000 in those days Bhagavan used to give. Don't give all these answers. That is why, you know what Rajaji states? Shashti Sahasram Makkal. If it says 60,000 sons, என்றால் 60 மக்கள். 60 sons. That's all. 60 sons itself is a big number. See, okay, but compared to 60,000, 60 is better. See, that's why I'm telling you, I'm not using science. I'm using Shastram. See, if I use science and bring you radiocarbon dating, some software, and all that, it is fine. Simple logic. See, generally, it is known in our families, they'll say, I have only one daughter, but she's equivalent to 10 sons. It doesn't mean they have produced 10 sons, which means your 10 sons progress is found in that one girl. That's all. Now, what does Vivekananda have to state in 1901? He states in Dhaka, Bangladesh, that time. So he states, however, I'm quoting what he said. Vivekananda says, however, about the Puranas, I have told you that they are authoritative only insofar as they agree with the Vedas, otherwise not. In the Puranas, we find many things which do not agree with the Vedas. As for instance, it is written in the Puranas that someone lived 10,000 years, another then 20,000 years. But in the Vedas, we find Shatayurvai Purushaha, man indeed lives for 100 years only. Which are we to accept in this case? Certainly the Vedas, says Swami Vivekananda. If you don't like Vivekananda, I'll tell you Rajaji. If you don't like Rajaji, then I have to tell you 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 Shastrigal and 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 Chakravartyachar. You don't like them, then I will have to go 500 years back and tell you what Nagesha Bhatta states. How did Nagesha Bhatta state that 1 year is equal to 1 day? Because in the context of Yajna, Jaimini states, I don't like Jaimini. Then what can I do? See, that is why I have told, if you want to believe that Rama lived for 11,000 years, believe. I have no problem. But if your children ask and they doubt, give them this calculation. You should always give another option. If you want to believe, then why do you want to research? It's okay. 10,000 years he lived, 11,000 years he lived. Believe. That is how I believe. But today when I listen to youngsters ask these questions, I am in a position where I have to answer their doubts. See, I have taken this as my passion, profession, whatever. It is my dharma to solve their questions. For me, it is my dharma to hold the attention of these youngsters today. Bring them back to some interest in our dharma. They don't have to become rishis or munis, but they should have some respect for our dharma. The moment you say, if you ask about 11,000 years, see what all videos I'm going to make, who all I'm going to talk to. Talk. See, I have no problem. Whether you tell me Rama lived for 11,000 years, I'll believe because I love Rama. If he lives for 11,000 years, I'll be the happiest person. Instead of 100, if someone whom you love lives for 11,000 years, I'll be happy. But for me, the worry is what will happen to the next set of children. See, now you may ask, final thing. Sir, you are telling 10,000 years plus 1,000 years, 11,000 years is equal to 11,000 days divided by an average of 360 is equal to 30 years and 5 months. Why didn't this question come 200 years back? Children like now should have asked then also. There is a point here. See, if a child of your family comes and asks me how to make lemon rasam. You know, how? What is the method I have to say? Then squeeze 3 lemons onto a cup. Take some mustards to, season them and some sesame oil to go with and a few curry leaves. If you believe in 𝗟𝗡𝗏𝗔𝗏, take some pinch of 𝗟𝗡𝗏𝗔𝗏 along and get some nice 𝗟𝗏𝗡𝗏 dal, well steamed and mashed. Some 2-3 green chilies to go along. And a special container called 𝗑𝗙𝗙𝗪. Let me give the Tamil Nadu touch. Light the gas up with nothing, it will melt. Put some water and the dal and maybe some 2-3 organic tomatoes from Nature's Basket or Namdhari to go with it and let it boil. And as you see the froth, squeeze the lemon and get it out. I can do this. This is easy. Your child will follow. There's another way of telling how to do this. I keep the lemon rasam. I say, taste it. Now find out what all I have put. And then make. This master chef, they will give this. They will give the dish. You have to taste. You have to find what the ingredients are and which stage what has to be added and the child has to do. The second one is very tough. First one I tell you step after step, it is easy. See, 200, 300 years back, do you think what our ancestors did? Biotechnology. They did visual communications, nothing. They did studying of the Vedas only. 300 years back, what did we read? We learned the Vedas. So what was the methodology? Learn the language first. Learn Sanskritam. 𝗤𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 𝗏𝗏 Akshara Rashi Grahanam you have to do. Then put the letters together, you get words. Put the words together, you get sentences. Put the sentences together, you get literature. So you have to learn kavyam, padyam, gadyam and all of that. So you know the language, you know what you are reading. See, today when we learn Sahasranamam, we don't know the meaning. That is the problem today. They knew the language and then learned the shlokas. Like how we can understand, twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. So we can understand, right? But we are not able to understand 𝗤𝗚𝗏𝗏. That is the irony. We can understand English rhyme, but we can't understand our 𝗟𝗚𝗏 shloka because we don't know the language. But 300 years back, you have to learn the language and then learn the shloka. So meaning was a given. You will know the meaning. You don't need to attend classes, buy English translation, Google, ChatGPT, nothing. Then you have to learn the Vedas. If you're a boy, you have to end up learning the Vedas as well. So you learn the Vedas, then you will know the Tarkashastra, the Mimamsa, then Jaimini's rule will automatically come. I told you that, right? The Sahasra Samvatsara Yagam, 1,000 years, special tonic, then you will have to take 1,000 not in the secondary sense, but the Samvatsaram in the secondary sense, Aharvai Samvatsara, all this will be taught. So automatically your brain has processed when it is an improbable number in the Vedas with respect to Yajnam, 1 year is equal to 1 day. So when you read the Ramayana where it says 10,000 years, automatically your mind will calibrate that 10,000 years is 10,000 days and you won't have this question at all. Today we don't know Tarkashastram, Mimamsa, Vyakaranam, Jyotisham, Kalpam, the Vedas, which Veda we belong to, who will teach those Vedas, the language. That is why when we read the Ramayana, we don't have no foundation courses there. So 10,000 years for us, we will think 10,000 years, 10,000 years. We don't know this calculation given in the Mimamsa. See, what is this? I'm not advertising for them. What is this? Apple, Mac. I got this in Seattle for $500. 500? I didn't say dollars. But it could be 500 rupees. No? But why did you think it's dollars? Because in the US, you know the currency is dollars. So, if someone is confused, what will you tell them? 500 Adda. How much will you say? 500 into? You will say 40,000 rupees. So, you know the currency, you know the conversion. So, when someone says US and 500, you will immediately multiply. Same thing happened those days. When they say Rama ruled for 10,000 years, they will equate it to 10,000 days and calculate. They knew that conversion. Today we don't know. That is why we are sticking to this 10,000 years, 10,000 years, 10,000 years and confusing us, confusing our children and pushing them to the fence. See, the moment you say Ramayana's history, history should be practical. History should be relatable. If you say 10,000 years, 60,000 years, it is not history then. Then if the child refuses to believe Rama, then don't come crying. Because you have given them improbable numbers. 60,000 sons, 60,000 years, 11,000 years. And you don't have an answer convincing enough to convince how 11,000 years. And then you say, Minnalla, when he used to be in school, he used to recite Sahasranamam and go. The moment he entered college, I don't know what happened. What happened? This happened. When he asked a question, you never gave an answer which was logical. When our acharyas have given a logical answer, you have not given because you were not trained. You did not train your children. For about 100 years, we have completely lost touch to our roots. Just by applying vibhuti and thiruman, it doesn't mean you're attached to dharma. Remember, people think big namam they'll put. That is just external. You are doing what your acharyas have said in anhikam. Apply 𝗟𝗡𝗏, apply vibhuti. Good. But that won't give you knowledge. Knowledge comes only through research and reading. You know what Mimamsa means in Sanskrit? Research. Mimamsa means research. Sanatana Dharma is a very research-oriented civilization. It allows you to question. It allows you to get with answers. 11,000 years. Tell Rama lived for 11,000 years. The other person, yes, 11,000 years, 11,000 years. We are worried what the other person will do, whether he'll file cases against me. We are worried and we'll say, yes, 11,000 years, 11,000 years. Hare Baba, you be concerned about your own children. You give all these improbable numbers and answers, then don't say, oh, they're just going away. Pardesi, jana nahi, jayega to hi. Kyun wo rahega idhar? So please give some scope for, when they ask questions, first you too think, he's asking question now. Some parents are worried. They have questions, allow them to ask. This is this religion. We are not a Taliban state. We are a Sanatana Dharmic state. You have to allow people to ask. This is where I differ from most of the speakers. They will say, why is this Dushyanth allowing people to question? That is me. I cannot not question. The moment I stop questioning, I'll stop giving lectures. I have to question every time, this particular incident, how this happened. I'm not here to just tell you what is there in the book. 𝗤𝗢𝗙 அவள் குடித்தாளாம், குடித்துவிட்டு ஓன்னு உட்காந்து, I don't belong to that category. I'm sorry. If 10 people get reduced in my audience because I question, it's okay. I'm okay with it. But I cannot stop. Oh, don't question, don't do this, How? This is dharma, Sanatana dharma. You're allowed to question. Arjuna asked questions. Krishna gave answers. Yudhishthira asked questions. Bhishmacharya gave answers. Madhurakavi Alvar asked questions. Nammalvar gave answers. Question, but I agree. Question respectfully. Question patiently. Have the patience to listen. See, for answering this 11,000 years, I am taking 1 hour 46 minutes. You cannot give it in one line. 11,000 years is equal 11,000 days divided by 360. Then what will that person think? How did this 11,000 years become 11,000 years? I have to give an explanation. Because in Jaimini Sutra, patience. I tell children very strongly, whether I am in India or abroad, patience. Listen, I will give you the answer. Don't ask in a very, arrogant way. I don't think such. I'm not sure. You know what? Don't ask me that. If you choose to believe, it's okay. We need such people in the dharma at all. We can do without you. Because your presence is not going to serve the dharma in any way. But ask respectfully, you will get answers. Through some way or the other. I will work my level best. When your children ask questions, when people ask questions, I will also try finding answers. For which some of them I'll be successful, some I can't. Just because you don't get answers to the questions you've asked, don't think it is false. One day you'll get answers. If not today. You may not get it through Dushyanth. You'll get it through somebody else. But allow people to ask questions. Don't make this a Taliban state. Don't make it, if you ask questions, you know what? You'll get Rauravanam, this Narakam, that Narakam. What is this? Where are we? Are we in dharmic state or where have we reached? I'll cut you, I'll hit you, I'll abuse you. Don't do this. You're doing a big harm. You retrieve temples, you fight for temples. To have temples, you need devotees to come. If you question your devotees, will temple stand alone live? You need devotees to see Ranganatha. You need devotees to see Srinivasa. So as much as the temple, the devotees are important. And to keep the devotees intact, you have to encourage them. You have to make it a very fine atmosphere where they feel all my doubts are getting cleared. Whether it is 11,000 years or not, believe. They'll go away. இருக்கும் இடத்தை விட்டு இல்லாத இடத்தை பாலூட்டி வளர்த்த கிளி பழங்கொடுத்து பார்த்த கிளி நான் வளர்த்த பச்சை கிளி, it will go away. பறந்து போயிடும். Then you'll sit. He asked such questions. Today I feel I should have dealt it in a different way. பశ్சாத்தாபப்பட்டு பிரயோஜனமே இல்லை. This is my thought. So I thought, just offbeat from my Paduka Sahasram lectures, I have to take up this question. And so that it really helps people who have the quest for knowledge. See, some people may not have that quest. It's okay. See, everybody doesn't have to research. But at least have the patience to understand the research findings. See, you don't research. At least go through the research findings. This is how our dharma is. Lot of questions like that. See, the children was, how did Hanuman fly? How was the flight going? How did he carry that mountain back from Kailasham to India, to Sri Lanka? How did Hanuman, who was a Vanara Jati, speak in Sanskritam? If he spoke in Sanskritam, okay, Hanuman spoke in Sanskritam, he is Navavyakarana Pandita. In what language did Sugriva speak? See, if we say Sugriva also spoke in Sanskritam, then the question is, how is Hanuman a differentiator? Hanuman and Sugriva both spoke in Sanskritam. But you say Hanuman is the greatest. How? Both of them have spoken Sanskritam. See, I am not asking these questions. All these questions come to me. When I do a Rama and a Navaham, surely there will be one me. 5 questions somebody will write. Mama, first question. How did Hanuman speak in Sanskritam? He is a Vanara. How did he speak in Sanskritam? You say that Ravana took Pushpaka Vimana to abduct Sita. Correct? Took her back in Pushpaka Vimana. How did Shurpanaka go? See, if Ravana had a chartered flight, how did she goes and describes Sita to Ravana, right? About Sita's beauty. How did she go? If you say that no sir, she had the ability to fly, then Ravana should have not used a flight. He should have also flown. Correct. See, Jatayu, what is Jatayu? Bird, enna bird? Vulture, they say. Vulture, eagle, whatever. Before Jatayu dies and he meets Rama, he says, Rama, don't worry, your wife will come back to you. Rama asks, how? She has been abducted in a muhurta called Vinda Muhurtam. She will come back to you. If you lose something in Vinda Muhurta, it will come back to the owner. She will come back to you. Who says this? Jatayu to Rama. Rama finds it very convincing. Next question. How can vultures speak? See, we are just telling in the course of Ramayana, Jatayu asked, and you are all nodding your head. How can vultures speak? Vulture, that too, it has a knowledge of Vinda Muhurta. Vulture tells in Vinda Muhurta she was lost, she will come back. In Sanskritam. We are able to find these things. For all of this, there is an answer. The beauty is when we research, we think 1,000 times how to bring this. Now, Jambavan, who is he? Bear. Who is Jambavati? His daughter. What will she be? Whom did Krishna marry? You are able to understand the problem here. First, can you see the problem? Biologically, how many of you are doctors here? There are great doctors here. Let them tell. Can a human sperm fertilize a bear's ovum? Egg? No. And see, now, you are able to see, then we will have so many new species. Correct? Bear marries a bear, a human marries a human, human marries a bear. You are able to understand the problem first. There is a solution for this also. We are all there to research. What are we meant for? We will research. Don't worry. But in India, you won't believe, in the Western world, for Christianity, Islam, for research, universities get $2 billion, 8,000 crores. In India, to research on our own, we will get only abuses. We have to spend our own money to research. Nobody will support because our traditional organizations are busy making gold 𝗥𝗘𝗥𝗏, gold umbrella for Rama. But we don't realize we are a knowledge-based country. We have to spend money on R&D, not gold and silver, because that will be taken away by someone. You have to spend money on research. Today, we are putting our own money. Our trust puts our own money and spends and comes out with research. But what we get is abuses. So, we have to change our mentality. Western religions spend thousands of crores on research. We don't have any allocation for research of Ramayana and Mahabharata. We should spend money on that. See, for us it's history. For the next generation, I have to prove its history. How will I do it without any funds for research? We have to go place after place, find where Rama went. This is the route taken by Rama. How will I do? I have to go village after village, sponsor a student, then pay his transport fees. Who will pay? Today we are busy buying gold, silver, diamond for see, already Srinivasa of Tirumala Tirupati is super rich. You add one more crown, how is it going to make a difference to the dharma? He doesn't need gold. They should make funds for research. So these are all so many questions that hover in the minds of young audience. It is high time we spend our time and effort on research. See, traditional methods of singing pasurams and Muniyena Muhane Mukkannappa Bala Kanda fine. Sathumurai, we will tell all the pasurams, give you Pongal Prasadam. You will eat well. 𝗔𝗠𝗘𝗥𝗏𝗏 Fine, I'll give you prasadam, you go. Fine, that is one level, bhakti. Next, what after this? Eating pongal is not your goal in life. More than that, spend time on thinking about our acharyas, what they have done. We are a very wisdom-rich country. Let's give importance to wisdom. Is my thought. 𝗏𝗏𝗙𝗘𝗙𝗧 कल्याणगुणशालिने श्रीमते वेङ्कटेशाय वेदान्तगुरवे नमः। स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः परिपालयन्तां न्यायेन मार्गेण महिषाः। गोब्राह्मणेभ्यः शुभमस्तु नित्यं। लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु। जानकीकान्तस्मरणं गोपिका जीवनस्मरणं। नमस्कारः।